Dustin Poirier's fighting for the BMF title. And so, what, man? What is wrong with you?
I don't want the BMF. What is this belt for the bums, you know? The people who never can be champion, you know? They give him some belt.
If I can get my hand raised again, retire with the BMF belt, I'm in the BMF forever. Me and Max Holloway are going to fight 5 rounds, main event, pay-per-view for his current BMF title. I just think it's time after 18 years, 19 years in this sport, fighting tooth and nail, bleeding every week. It's a good decision. I think it's a responsible decision and a respect to the sport.
Islam Makhachev trolled Dustin Poirier for fighting for the BMF belt, saying it is for those who can't become champions. However, Dustin Poirier has officially confirmed his retirement fight against Max Holloway for the BMF title on July 19th in his home city, New Orleans. After much anticipation, the two UFC legends are set to face off in what will be Poirier's final fight, marking the end of an incredible career.
July 19th is going to be my final fight. I'm going to lay the gloves down in Louisiana where it all started for me. The whole journey started there.
Islam Makhachev took a jab at Dustin Poirier's upcoming fight for the BMF title, mocking it as a belt for fighters who can't become champions. Islam joked that if offered the BMF belt tomorrow, he wouldn't want it, dismissing it as something for bums. His comments added fuel to the ongoing debate about the significance of the BMF title in the UFC.
Dustin Poirier's fighting for the BMF title. And so, what, man? What is wrong with you?
I don't want the BMF. What is this belt for the bums, you know?
However, Dustin Poirier expressed that the BMF title holds significant value for him, especially since few fighters ever get the opportunity to contend for it. He emphasized that being considered for a BMF fight means being a fan favorite and a fighter who consistently brings intensity, embodying that never say die spirit. Dustin shared his excitement about the possibility of retiring with the BMF belt, claiming that if he wins, he will be the BMF forever.
What do you think of fighting for the BMF title? Again, you know, you had your opportunity in Utah, didn't go your way, another chance. Does this belt hold any significance to you?
Of course it does. There hasn't been many guys, and like I said, heading into the Gaethje fight for the BMF, even to get mentioned or have your name in the hat to be pulled for a BMF fight, you got to be a fan favorite. You got to bring it every time. You have to be in that criteria of fighters cut from that cloth, that never say die cloth, and Max is that, I am that. So it's amazing. If I can get my hand raised again, retire with the BMF belt, I'm in the BMF forever.
Dustin Poirier discussed the possibility of retiring as the last BMF champion at UFC 318, suggesting that if he wins and takes the belt with him, it would be a forever title. He doesn't believe the UFC would bring the BMF belt back unless something extraordinary happened, making it even more significant for him to retire as the final holder.
You'll retire with the BMF belt. Should the BMF belt retire with you, you think?
I mean, if I'm the last if I can get my hand raised, be the last BMF champion, and ride off into the sunset with the belt and retire, hey, that's forever. That's forever, because I don't think they would ever do it again unless something crazy happened, right? But that would be dope.
Apart from disliking the BMF belt, Islam Makhachev has so much respect for Dustin. He spoke highly of Dustin Poirier, stating that Dustin is already a Hall of Famer. He praised Poirier for showcasing great fights and becoming one of the biggest stars in MMA. Islam described Dustin as a legend and a great person, wishing him the best and acknowledging that Poirier still has the ability to defeat many fighters.
Dustin, I think he's already in Hall of Fame, and he showed all MMA fans how many great fights. You know, he's one of the big stars in our sport. You know, and he's a legend and person. It's very good man. And I just wish him the best, and I know he can still fighting and he's gonna beat a lot of people.
Dustin Poirier also expressed excitement for his retirement fight, officially set for July 19th in New Orleans against Max Holloway for the BMF title. He shared how special it was to have the fight in Louisiana and that he couldn't think of anyone better than Holloway, a legend and his first UFC opponent to face in his final fight.
It's been a long wait to get this announcement. We've got many teases. How happy are you that the world finally knows and that the retirement fight is set in stone?
I'm super excited, man. This has been a long time in the works, getting Louisiana on board, get the UFC to even think about coming back to Louisiana, but it's happening. Super excited. There's nobody else I'd rather be standing across from when I lay the gloves down or when I go into my final fight. Max is a legend. I got so much respect for the guy. He's done it all right. And that was his first fight in the UFC, and he's going to be my last.
Earlier, Max Holloway also mentioned that if Dustin Poirier could be his last fight and he could get a win back, it would be a great achievement. However, he emphasized that he has a lot of respect for Poirier, calling him the Diamond and saying he loves the guy. Holloway acknowledged that Poirier has had success against him in the past, but he's determined to try again, despite not having the best luck in their previous encounters.
It's not Dustin Poirier's last fight, but I think if you can be his last fight and get one back, it would be sad, but at the same time, you know, a win for you.
Hey, that'd be nice. The Diamond, sign me up, bro. I love that guy. I got nothing but respect for the guy, but he is up 2-0 against my and I don't have the best luck against people who's 2-0 against me, so I guess I gotta try it again.
Meanwhile, Dustin Poirier shared his thoughts on the emotional side of preparing for his final fight. While he isn't feeling overly emotional yet, he acknowledged that as the time approaches, he expects to experience a range of emotions. Poirier expressed confidence in his decision to retire, stating that although he still has the ability to compete at the highest level, he doesn't want to continue fighting unless it's for a title. He emphasized that his motivation has always been to chase the championship, and if that's no longer the goal, it's time to walk away from the sport.
I guess you are starting to think it's coming, the final fight. Like, are you getting, does it get you emotional being here, like knowing these are maybe the final times you're doing this kind of stuff?
I'm not emotional yet. I'm sure as time goes, there's going to be waves of different feelings. Right now, I'm feeling confident and okay with my decision for it to be my last fight. Like I've said, dude, I can still do this at the top level for a few more years. I know there's no doubt in my mind, but it's just like, what am I fighting for? Is it for a paycheck? I don't want to disrespect the sport. I've always fought to be the world champion, so if it's not for a title, then it's time to go away. You know, I was always chasing the title.
Dustin Poirier reflected on his long career, stating that after 18 or 19 years in the sport, it's time for him to step away. He emphasized that his family is well, and he wants to retire healthy, able to speak clearly, work the desk, and be there for his daughter and future kids. Poirier expressed that his decision to retire is both responsible and respectful to the sport, recognizing the toll fighting has taken on him over the years.
And I've been doing it for a long time. My family's good. I'm good. I want to get out here with my faculties, be able to speak and work the desk, be healthy for my daughter and my future kids, you know, so I just think it's time after 18 years, 19 years in this sport, fighting tooth and nail, bleeding every week. It's a good decision. I think it's a responsible decision and a respect to the sport.
Dustin Poirier always wished to hand his gloves in front of his people at his home ground, and he is happy that the UFC has fulfilled his wish. Poirier shared how fulfilling it feels to retire at home in Louisiana, revealing that it was his idea to reach out to the UFC with this request. To his surprise, the UFC worked with him and made it happen. Poirier expressed gratitude, acknowledging how much effort it took to adjust the schedule and bring the cage to Louisiana, making his retirement fight a reality. He described it as a dream come true.
Ultimately, you couldn't have dreamed a better scenario though, right? Like, this is where you want to do it despite all that stuff that might come with it.
Yeah, this is the dream. This is the plan. I'm the one who reached out for the UFC and said, hey, I would love to retire at home. And to my surprise, they obliged and said, okay, we'll do everything we can to make it happen. You know, it's amazing when a company works with you like that and has respect for you enough to try to put things in motion, because so many things in their schedule is booked up for the whole year, you know, previously. Like, people don't understand how much goes on behind the scenes. These dates and locations are pre-planned for a long time. For them to scrap something and bring the cage to Louisiana and set it up for me to retire at home, dude, it's a dream come true.
However, Chael Sonnen surprised everyone as he already confirmed the location and opponent of Dustin Poirier's last fight even before UFC 314. Chael Sonnen confidently said that Dustin Poirier versus Max Holloway is the only fight set for now. Daniel Cormier, surprised, questioned if it was true, with Dustin also unsure. Sonnen suggested that if Poirier retires with a belt, it would be a perfect moment. He added that rumors about the fight being in New Orleans were circulating, and Poirier jokingly acknowledged Sonnen's knowledge. Sonnen concluded that where there's smoke, there's often fire, hinting that this could be a fitting retirement for Poirier.
155 only has one piece of clarity, which is that Dustin and Max are matched up.
The one thing we know is Dustin Poirier and Max Holloway are matched up.
That's all
I
we
don't
know.
know if that's true though.
I don't either.
You see what I'm saying?
That's the problem. I'm trying to move away from it because I know what you're doing, right? Yes, I know what you're doing.
And not to mention, DC, if they do that and they do that the right way, that means he would be leaving with a belt. That would be very cool.
If I do it the right way.
That's right.
Yeah.
But I mean, there would be no reason to come back. That would be a very special moment. And the rumors it's going to be in New Orleans, and the rumors
if it's
with Max,
Dustin,
the rumors it's going to be.
I mean, this guy knows a lot of stuff.
He knows more than me.
These really are just rumors that are going around, but you know, where there's smoke, oftentimes there's fire in this industry. And I'm saying, if there's a way to go out, that would be a very perfect moment.
That would be a perfect moment.
Chael Sonnen further spoke about that statement and revealed that he hadn't realized he was leaking insider information. Sonnen explained that he wasn't told it was a secret, so he shared the news about the fight being set in Louisiana. He mentioned that Dustin's last fight would be against Holloway, but the only thing he wasn't sure about was whether the BMF belt would be on the line. Sonnen also revealed that Dustin got in trouble with the UFC, as they mistakenly thought Dustin had shared the information with him.
You sitting next to Dustin Poirier and say that, hey, it could be Poirier up against Max Holloway for the final fight of Poirier. A lot has been speculated off of that. What do you actually know about the likelihood of that being Dustin's final fight?
Zach, I didn't know I was leaking inside information. Like, I'm a guy you can tell things to. I know what's secret, what hasn't been revealed. No one told me that was a secret. So I go out and I tell the world, man, it's going down in Lafayette. It's going to be Dustin's last fight. It's Max Holloway. The only thing I don't know if they're going to put up the BMF belt. Dustin comes in, tells me that he got in trouble by the UFC because they assumed that he fed me that information and then I went and leaked it. Those conversations never happened. I don't know where I got that news along the way.
Chael Sonnen confidently stood by his statement, reaffirming that Dustin Poirier's final fight against Max Holloway is set to happen, and that the BMF title will be on the line. He even went further to suggest that Dustin could take the BMF belt into retirement, effectively retiring the title. However, Chael clarified that while he hadn't received this information directly from anyone, he had read it and believed it to be true, and it seems that it was indeed accurate.
I'll stand by it. I'm right. All those things are happening. I'll even add to that claim. They're going to put the BMF up. It'll be Dustin's last fight. There's a chance that Dustin takes the BMF into retirement, which would retire the BMF. But as far as any of that information ever actually being told to me, nah, I guess it wasn't. I read it somewhere. I believed it to be true. But it turns out it is. It's all true.
Chael Sonnen further revealed that Dana White didn't call him to reprimand him for leaking the information about Dustin Poirier's retirement fight. Instead, the UFC reached out to Dustin directly, asking him why he had leaked details about the fight. Sonnen clarified that he had known about the fight for a couple of months and believed the matchup with Max Holloway was already widely known. He thought everyone was aware that the fight was booked, but he learned that the information was still supposed to be kept under wraps.
So you heard from Dustin. They thought Dustin was leaking that information as you were sitting next to him, maybe like in a break or something. Does Dana give you a call and says, hey, what the heck are you doing, Chael Sonnen?
No, it wasn't to me. I mean, I got it fair play. They went to Dustin and they go, hey, what are you doing? Your partner just leaked all your scoop. Are you going to think we didn't know where that came from? I've known this for a couple of months, though. And I thought that Max had called him out. I thought that Dustin had accepted while he was working the desk at ESPN. Like, I feel like this whole story played out before us. I thought everyone knew. I thought a venue was booked and tickets were on sale. Like, I just found out that at this point is still protected information.
Meanwhile, the UFC pros have soured their praise and respect for Dustin Poirier's incredible career and his legacy. Justin Gaethje shared his admiration for Dustin Poirier, saying he has been a fan of him since day one, especially after sharing the cage with him. Gaethje expressed that there's no need for their families to go through another fight as they're 1-1. He emphasized that Poirier is a Hall of Fame worthy fighter, praising his victories, including his impressive wins over Conor McGregor. Gaethje acknowledged the many good things Poirier has accomplished in his career.
Ooh, this guy has been around. This guy was around when I was in college. Yeah, I've been a fan of this guy since day one, especially sharing the cage with him. You know, I've said it publicly and I'll say it again. I don't think there's any reason our families need to go through that again. You know, we're 1-1. And so, yeah, I mean, I've been a fan of the sport for a long time, and he's definitely one of the guys that I love to watch. I think he's certainly in the Hall of Fame. You know, coming back and whooping Conor McGregor's ass a couple times was fantastic. You know, so he's done a lot of good things here.
Michael Chandler praised Dustin Poirier, calling him an absolute legend who truly grew up in the UFC. He emphasized how Dustin has earned everything he's accomplished, from his wins to his losses and comebacks. Chandler believes that Poirier's legacy is built on his resilience and determination, making it tough for fans to watch him retire in New Orleans.
Man, he's an absolute legend, man. He's a guy who really grew up inside of the UFC. A guy who, has earned his stripes, his hashtag paid in full. He really has paid in full for everything that he's accomplished, everything that he's done, the wins that he has had, the losses that he has taken, and the way that he came back from those losses, fighting for the title numerous times. I think that's his legacy. And it'll be tough to watch, for all the fans to watch him lay the gloves down in New Orleans. Hopefully he can make that happen this summer. And I'll be there most likely.
The former lightweight champion Charles Oliveira also expressed deep admiration for Dustin Poirier, stating that Poirier deserves all the respect in the world. He acknowledged Poirier's career, highlighting his battles against the greatest fighters, his wins and losses, and his consistent ability to step up and deliver exciting fights. Oliveira remarked that it would be an honor to watch his final fight.
Na sua última luta, com certeza vai ser uma grande luta e com certeza eu quero estar assistindo porque ele merece todo o aplauso do mundo.
He's a guy that I admire a lot. He deserves all the respect in the world. He's fought the greatest fighters there are. He's won, he's lost, but he's always stepped up there. He's always put on great fights. So definitely, if this is gonna be his last fight, then it's gonna be an honor to watch it.
Dan Hooker praised Dustin Poirier, calling him a great fighter and an absolute dog. He emphasized Poirier's well-rounded skill set, stating that he can do it all in the octagon.
Yeah, just a fighter's fighter, an absolute dog. Could do it all, well-rounded. Could do it all, man. Could do it all. Just a real dog.
Paddy Pimblett described Dustin Poirier as half a legend, acknowledging him as one of the best fighters on the UFC roster who has yet to win a title. Pimblett compared Poirier to Carlos Condit, saying he's like the Carlos Condit of the lightweight division, someone who has been incredibly skilled but hasn't captured the ultimate prize.
He's half a legend, isn't he? He's probably one of the best fighters in the UFC's seen that hasn't won a title, because a lot of people you don't really include an interim title, do you, in champions? So he is probably one of the better fighters ever on the roster that never won the actual title. He's like the Carlos Condit of the lightweight division.
Beneil Dariush also shared his view on Dustin Poirier's legacy, describing him as a family man and community figure. Dariush believes Poirier should be considered a champion, citing his win over Max Holloway, one of the greatest featherweights of all time, as proof of his championship-level skill and character.
I think Dustin Poirier's legacy is going to be, let's see, family man, community guy. He was a champion, I know people say interim belt, but to me, he beat Max Holloway, one of the greatest featherweights, if not the greatest featherweight of all time. He beat Max Holloway. To me, he's a champion. He's a family man. The guy's won at life. So I think that's his legacy.
Caio Baralho acknowledged Dustin Poirier's significant legacy, even though he never became a champion. He highlighted Poirier's contributions to the sport and his charity work through his foundation, calling him a legend and an example for new athletes.
I think it's a good legacy. He never been champion, but he did a lot for the sport. He did a lot for the charity from the foundation. So I think he's definitely a legend on the sport, a guy that is an example for us as a new athletes.
Frankie Edgar also acknowledged Dustin, calling him the dog of all dogs, highlighting his blue-collar work ethic and true fighting spirit. He believes Poirier will unquestionably be remembered as a legend in the sport.
The dog of all the dogs, you know what I mean? He's a blue-collar fighter. He's a fighter's fighter, and yeah, he's going to go down as a legend, for sure.
Mike Brown, Dustin Poirier's coach, also praised Dustin's legacy, calling him one of the best to ever compete in the UFC. He highlighted Dustin's impressive run in the sport, noting his exciting fighting style and numerous records, including being tied for 5th in the most wins in UFC history, 4th in most finishes, tied for 3rd in knockouts, and 4th in most bonuses.
No, Dustin's legacy is an incredible one. I think he's one of the absolute best to ever do it, one of the best lightweights, one of the best fighters to ever compete in the octagon. His run has been incredible. He I mean, if you look back at what he's done, and he's done it in an exciting manner. He's tied for 5th, the most wins ever in UFC history. He's 4th in most finishes, tied for 3rd in most knockouts, and 4th most bonuses. So those are pretty damn impressive statistics.
Youssef Zala shared that Dustin Poirier's legacy is one that people aspire to. He described Dustin as the person everyone wants to be like in the world of fighting, calling him gangster for the way he carries himself and competes.
A gangster, that's what his legacy is, man. He's the what people want to be in fighting. He's the guy that everybody wants to be like in fighting as well. So that's gangster, man. That's a gangster.
So that's what the pros think about Dustin's retirement fight, and the fans are now waiting for UFC 318 to witness Dustin fighting for the BMF title in his retirement fight against Max Holloway. This would also mark the end of his legendary career. Despite Islam Makhachev's criticism of the BMF belt, Poirier values it as a symbol of fighter resilience. The fight, set for July 19th in New Orleans, will be Poirier's final appearance, closing a chapter on one of the UFC's greatest careers.